How old are your children?
I'm t- I was just about to lie so bad and say 28, but that's when I had my first child. I'm 35.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still not counting the COVID years.
Yeah.
Not the COVID years.
Yeah, the COVID years. I'm trying to get those years back.
I
I
get
feel
that.
like they aged me and everything.
Oh,
How
Yeah,
old are the children?
2 and 3.
Two
okay.
and three.
Yeah,
Okay.
2 and
Good
3,
ages.
and 8. The one that's in heaven,
Yeah.
my son.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. And what was his name?
Dimitri.
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 And we're going to say his name all the time, right?
Yeah, we
Danita, Dimitri.
Dimitri.
What's your husband's name?
Don Demi, and his name is Leonard, but his middle name is Demetrius.
Okay. Okay. So
We got the D's.
All the
D's
D's.
represent.
My whole family start with D.
Oh,
Oh, I
wow.
love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
my grandmother had 54 of us with D's.
Wow.
Yeah.
Y'all representing the
We
D's.
represent.
And y'all not even from Detroit.
Nope.
All right. So welcome back. We're back with Mettle Labs for another podcast, and we have a special guest with us today, Ms. Denita. How you doing today?
I'm doing great.
All right, welcome, man. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you.
And then we have our star therapist here with us, Ms. Denise.
Good morning, and welcome. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. All right. So while we were out there, we were just, waiting for everything to get set up. We began kind of talking about family. And we were talking about generational trauma.
Yeah.
We were talking about business and success. We were talking about Mettle, the spirit of resiliency.
Yes.
And so I guess let's start from the beginning. Like, where are you originally from?
Okay.
And what was childhood like?
I'm from DC, Southeast DC.
Okay.
Woo, 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 woo. I'll get a little louder, right? But no, I'm from DC. My grandmother, I come from my grandmother had 5 kids, so I'm number 2 of 29 grandchildren.
Wow.
I guess I'll just start with my story. I'm a wife and a mom of 3. I have a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, and an 8-year-old. God rest my son's soul, Dimitri Hooper. He was murdered 8 years ago by his step-grandfather at 6 months. Yeah. So from what we heard in the reports, he was drunk, lost his job, might have was about to get suspended from work, and a lot of stress with his wife, and he murdered our son. So he picked him up from daycare, strangled him, broken ribs, lacerated liver, 3 skull injuries, and it just was a lot.
Yeah.
I'm stuttering right now because it's like I didn't even know I was about to go into that story, but I'm gonna try to get through it. But he was a great baby.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start with that. He was a great baby. Didn't deserve what happened to him.
No.
The murderer, Linwood Person, got 20 years. He just filed an appeal in May, and we had to go back so he can get the full 20. So with all of that, I transitioned my life, right? They say turn your pain into power, so that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
When was his birthday?
March 5th.
March 5th. Okay.
Yeah.
A March
Pisces.
baby. Pisces.
Yeah.
You said that, so he would today be 8 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. And, so what's the journey of healing look like for you?
It's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, the journey is rough. It's losing people, it's gaining people, it's transitioning, recovery, renewing yourself, transitioning yourself into your new person, because it's like you change every 6 months with grieving.
Yeah.
That's what I realized.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said you want to turn your pain into power. What insight have you gained from going through this journey of grief and loss?
I just remember my son first dying and going into group therapies and stuff like that, realizing that I had a story of a lost son, just like everyone else, but my story was so different. And a lot of people were stuck on it. Like, I remember sitting in the therapy saying, wow, it's been 20 years for this lady, and she's still coming to therapy.
Yeah.
And I would say I was judging her at that moment. Like, at that very moment, I remember saying, I don't want to be like her. Yeah, and I just remember saying, if all of them have so many years under their belts, I know I could go down the same tunnel as them, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. So when I sat there with my husband, I felt like I took him to something that could drown him, because I felt like maybe he could have went down that rabbit hole. You know how
Yeah.
like you got two opposites,
Yeah.
and you are the puller, and then you
The
know,
pusher.
yeah, he's the pusher. Like we needed something that can push us, and going to the group wasn't for us.
Got you.
So that's one of the obstacles that I went to that made me realize I had to turn pain into power. And it's so crazy because all of the women that was in that same group with me, they like, how did you pull through? Like they
Wow.
come to my events
Yeah.
and they say, I wish I could have been as strong as you because maybe I could have had more kids. Or, you know, so that's what I'm learning, that a lot of them miss the opportunity of starting over.
Yeah.
And do you feel like the women who miss the opportunity to start over, do you feel like instead of them reconciling and processing through their grief, they just stayed stuck in their grief?
They stuck in it. Yeah, they stayed stuck. And it's easy to stay stuck.
Yeah.
So that's why I realized at that moment when I was sitting and talking with them, I was judging. Because it's easy. It's easy to stay stuck. It's easier, too. Because your family, I'm learning that a lot of people like you stuck. Yeah, they don't want you to grow up. They don't want you to get past it. They don't want you to prosper past it because it's easy for them to feel needed. I can hold your hand through this. Like, you know, and I didn't like that. I didn't like it. I felt like I became an alcoholic. I felt like I became a drug abuser when I was that person.
So tell me a little bit about like, you know, you growing up and like, so how you were able to kind of identify and, you know, develop the practices of that allowed you to work your way through towards being a healthier person. Like some of the seeds of that had to have been who you were before then.
It was my mom.
Okay.
My mom and my grandmother. My grandmother is my most, she motivates me.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but it's my mom. She's hard on me. So I always tell people, like, I swear my mom don't like me. But it's not that she don't like me. She called me her responsible child. So it's kind of like she pushed me with that, you know?
Yeah.
I got 6 siblings. So it's like one of us have to, like, push for the team. You know, it's like a football team, basically. Yeah. So my mom is the roughest woman you gonna ever find. She should actually be like a wrestler or something. I don't know.
Hilarious.
Or something.
Yeah.
She need a bigger name than what it is. So I guess I'll give it to her.
Okay. Can you tell us a story of like growing up and how, you know, the way in which she pushed you, how difficult it was in that in a key moment, but now you're really proud of the fact that, you know, you.
I wouldn't say I have a story for her. I would just say that every story in my life. Okay, I wouldn't say a growing up story. I would just say my son story. When I was at the funeral, I had to stand and probably welcome 400 people. And then I had my mom's sister standing behind me, and I had my mom's sister standing behind me, and then my mom was standing behind my sister. So that's strength alone. Like they were literally like pushing each other to hold us up. Wow. So that's the story that I have for you. Like we are beautiful. A body of women that's just strong. My brand is Temple of Power, right? So I had my mom, my aunt, and then me, and then I'm burying my son, right? So that's the strongest story I could tell you right there is that we all push each other.
And so you talk about your mom and your aunt. Have they shared stories with you about maybe some of what they have gone through that allowed them to be so resilient and so strong in their presence that they can now kind of hand the baton to you and say, here, we're going to raise a daughter and a niece that's going to be just as strong in her convictions?
If I could be honest, we don't share real bad stories in our family. And I think that's where I become the generational curse breaker because I'm so transparent because maybe what happened to me made me this way. I was on the news and my mother and my aunts and them, like what happened to them or their stories wasn't as tragic as mine. Maybe everyone have a story, but I was on the news and I became that lifetime story, you know? So I don't think that it's because they don't want to tell me. I just feel like they just choose not to. Yeah. But we don't share stories like that. So that's why I'm the black sheep of the family, or I guess the chosen one. I got so many titles that people call me or my family say, and I'm like, oh, just hide me. But I can't be hidden because of what happened to me.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah.
With You mind sharing a little bit about like the relationship before with your husband's stepfather? Like,
Yeah.
the fact that he was on the list to be able to pick up your son.
He wasn't, but
Oh, interesting. Okay.
yeah. I mean, it happens when you know a person that know a person,
Gotcha. Yeah.
So she knew him ever since
Okay.
they were 16. So the daycare provider, she knew him.
Wow.
Yeah. But he wasn't on the list. I actually only had me, my husband, and my mom and his mom.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
Very short
that's what
list of
happened.
people.
They knew him. So
Mm,
yeah, he was the grandfather,
yeah.
and she known him all her life. She even wrote the letter to the court when we were going through, and said he's a good person. I known him since I was 16. I didn't think that. I mean, she knew him ever since he was 16, so she didn't think he would do it. That's what she told us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you see when a mother and a father who are a couple, they go through a tragedy. A lot of times that tragedy, the couple's not able to overcome that. Like, and it sounds like it's pretty fly that you and your husband were able to work together
Yeah.
to be a source of
It's been hard
inspiration and support. What's that been like? Yeah.
It's been hard
Okay.
to battle with your families.
Yeah.
Like, it's like Lord, it's like we over here and they over here, and it's like, but y'all want to stay together. My a lot of people didn't realize that my husband didn't do it.
Right.
So it's like, how can I blame him for what his stepfather did?
Yeah.
And they wanted me to just be psychic and know that, oh, well, your husband had to know that he had trauma. But they say people snap all the time, so it's kind of like we just going through it together, and we had to fight for our family, and we still fight for our family every day. We got 2 kids, and we still fighting for our family right now. Like, the preliminary trial just happened May 10th, right?
Okay.
So that's another fight of who's going to come to the court case and who's still supporting them and who's not, Yeah. So we fight all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think that with the person responsible for Dimitri's death being so close to the family, that makes it even more difficult for you to kind of process and reconcile with your family, because essentially your family is the perpetrator's family, right? So do you think that presents a challenge to kind of reconcile and process and get through it?
Yeah. I mean, it's always going to be a challenge. I mean, I think that God gave us this life not so it could be easy, but so we can win it. So I don't mind being a part of that family, because it just shows me that I'm a survivor of the family. I could have just folded a long time ago, but I didn't, and all my son don't carry that family last name, so it's not bothering me as much. Yeah.
Yeah, that's first and foremost, I want to say that like you're inspiring me today.
Oh, thank you.
Because there, like you said before, there are a lot of people who go through the tragedy that's not even as severe as that, and they have a lot of difficulty in overcoming it.
Yeah.
There is. So there's a thing that happens, right? So the tragic loss of your son is the thing that happens. Is the thing that happened. Can you talk to us about the journey of overcoming the guilt or the shame associated with that? Because I can only imagine the type of second guessing, that a person would go through, when you do lose a child.
Yeah. My impact statement when I wrote to the court was saying that I didn't follow my gut. My gut that morning at 7:00 told me that something was wrong. I called my husband crying at 12 saying he didn't want to come with me. He was looking at the kids and he just was so concerned about them. But that moment at 1:00 when I felt this other feeling, that I should go back, go get him. I said, I'm gonna call you. I called my husband again at 1:00 and I said, I think I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave work. This job not that important to me. I'm gonna pick up Dimitri and I'm just gonna try something new. The guilt of knowing that God has sent us here with signs and we just overlook them. that guilt right there is the worst guilt you can ever feel in your life. But I got past it because now I got kids. I'm not saying that I'm going to experiment with these kids, but I know that I have to do something different with these kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I'm in the car or when I'm driving, that gut feeling that I feel,
Yeah.
I stop my car. You know, I'm just more conscious about what I'm doing now. But I'm not about to let what happened to my son just like drag me down for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I would be 35 right now, not sitting here, not telling the story, not helping not one person, you know, if I didn't pick up my head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't regret it because I'm choosing not to live with regret.
Yeah.
I think that my story and what happened to my son was supposed to happen.
Right.
God gave his only son. I guess I gave mine too.
All right. I
Yeah.
love it.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about some of, just to, touch a little on what Clay was saying, because a lot of the times when we lose people, especially losing a child, right, there's a lot of emotions that comes with it. You have the guilt, you have the shame, you have the wanting to isolate, you have the wanting to shut people out, you have the trying to make sense of something that no matter how much you try makes no sense.
I did all
right?
of that.
What was the one thing or place that you can go to, whether it's internal or external, that helped you to ground yourself and cope with some of those emotions?
When my son first died, the first thing I could think of is people not listening to me, so I'm gonna make a song. Yeah, and it was called Just the Baby. I was like, my voice is not being heard. I didn't call every news reporter. I didn't went to radio stations. Why haven't my son's story been around the whole universe? I don't know. I felt like I was important. I felt like Dimitri was important. I felt like his story was important. I felt like it wasn't being heard enough. So I said, let's make a song. And what I'll do is I'll write, normally it's 3 verses in a song. I said, I'm going to write 4. Right? So music has literally been my savior. Yeah. And I keep writing music ever since I lost my son.
Wow.
So that kind of helps you to cope with some of the emotions that you deal with.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you found purpose in your music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Did Dimitri love music?
Yeah, he did. He was stuck on one gospel album that one of my friends made.
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His song was Take Me to the King, right? So I used to call him King.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he tied it all over me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like it's full circle,
Mm-hmm.
right? The one thing that he loved and the one thing that he enjoyed is actually what you're using to cope.
Yeah.
Do you somehow feel closer to him when you're in that vibe of writing or doing music?
I don't. No,
Okay.
I don't feel closer to him, but I do feel closer to him where we always stayed, and that's in the bed. So we slept really good together. I don't know. My son was a sleeper, and I mean, from the time I swear, from the time that he came out, it was like he was the most precious baby because he just laid there and he was so calm and collected. So I feel closest to him when I'm asleep. Yeah, but music doesn't do it for me. It's just me trying to wake people up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
So it kind of helped to give you your purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little push. It's just like a little push. Like, do you hear what I'm saying out here?
Right.
You
right.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's in mythology, there's the name of you ever seen the Sagittarius? He's a half man, half horse, right?
Okay.
In Greek mythology, his name is Chiron, spelled Chiron.
Okay.
And Chiron is considered the wounded healer. And what that means is that he was wounded in battle, and it is a wound that can never really heal for him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's permanently injured.
Oh, wow.
But because he's had that experience, he becomes a healer to others. And so he can heal other people. And so he would travel around and be a source of healing. And so, like when you hear that story, like how does that relate to?
That sounds like me.
Okay.
What month is that?
So
Sagittarius.
Sagittarius. What month is that?
November, December.
November, December. Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like me. I don't think I'll ever be healed for my son.
Yeah.
I mean, I say I'm healing.
Yeah.
I just keep putting the ing on it.
That's right.
I'm healing.
Yeah.
I'm healing every month.
Yeah.
It's something that, they say that moms. I'm in a group, mothers who lost sons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they say moms heal all the time, or they grieve forever. It's like they remind you that we'll be going through this forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's
like a
right.
cycle. That group.
Yeah.
I mean, I love them, but like it's a cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get
Even
that.
when we walk, it's like we walking in a circle over and over again. They do a lot of walks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do a walk for my son, a 5-mile walk for my son. And the fact that we walk in a circle and we come right back to that same spot, it's kind of like, I don't want to be at the same spot. I wanted it to lead me somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you think it doesn't? And it's funny you said that, because it may not lead you someplace in the physical, like in the environment, but does it lead you somewhere mentally? Like when you're doing
At that moment,
walk,
yeah.
does it?
At that moment. But like he said, it's like you're healing, but it's not a fix, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
And I think when people go through what you've been through, right, you want it to be fixed, right? But what does a fix look like?
It's not a fix. It's nothing.
Right? And
Because
so-
not even the new kids did it, And a lot of people think that new kids will make it better. But what me and my husband did was we tried to heal to the most that we thought was healed. I mean, like, we went to therapy, we went to group, we went to counseling. We did everything. We got married. We did it the right way this time. And it was like, okay, well, not saying that we're going to forget about our son, but it should be better this time.
Got you with that.
Every birthday, every holiday, every death date, it still feel the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So we, as an agency, I would say that because we're behavioral health, right? The treatment modality that we follow and practice here is based off of Adlerian psychology. And Adlerian psychology is named after this psychiatrist who lived way back in the day, birth date, I think 1872 or something like that, by the name of Alfred Adler. And he was like a contemporary of Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung, spelled Jung. And this was really kind of considered like the golden age of modern psychiatry.
Yeah.
And, one of the concepts that he had was that we are born as indivisible beings, meaning that we're born whole, meaning that we're born perfect.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing wrong with us. And then as we live and as we learn and we grow, we learn brokenness, and we learn brokenness at a very early age, and so most of us kind of live a life going through these experiences that we identify our disappointments, our letdowns, our heartbreaks as reminders that we're broken.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. And so like the tragic event that you went through is really kind of a direct pluck of that sense of brokenness that you were born with.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's called the felt minus. And so, in thinking about how do you overcome like a sense of like the heartbrokenness that we carry as a human being, and as we go through life, we have these different experiences, and it reminds us that we're broken. How do you live well? Like how do you overcome that? And I think it has to do with practicing being well.
Yeah.
In spite of not being well. Like,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like you mentioned to me before, like some of the diets that you've kind of gone through, some of the evolutions that you've gone through within yourself and your family to practice being whole. And so do you mind just kind of sharing what your takeaways from that?
At that moment, I didn't even know that I was practicing being well, but I definitely see the difference. Even what I'm eating wake me up early, So I am vegetarian now, but last year I did a vegan diet, which led to me drinking smoothies all day long, right? So I did no chewing.
Okay.
But 8 smoothies a day.
Okay, you weren't doing no pork chop smoothies, were you?
No,
Okay.
I wasn't that hard on myself. I
Alright.
wasn't that hard on myself, but it was a fruit diet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
Have you ever tried it?
As a fast, I have not tried it as like.
What about you?
No,
No.
I like smoothies during the summertime, but it's not something that I have done consistently. Like to
Okay.
say I'm just going to do this for a certain period of time. No.
Would you guys do it?
So for me, I haven't had chicken, beef, turkey, or pork since the year 2000.
Okay.
So 25 years
Wow.
I've been pescatarian.
Okay.
So I'll do seafood, and then I do intermittent fasting. So I don't eat my first meal until like 1 or 2 o'clock in the
I
day.
did 12.
Yeah, and so like this works for me, and it's been working for me for the last 20 years. So I don't need to make any more like dietary
Adjustments.
modifications because I get the best out of kind of my schedule now. But like sometimes, like when I feel inspired by the Spirit, I will fast, and when I do fast, I just do nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, fasting from certain things have helped me with my depression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I gotta stay away from potato chips.
Mm.
I gotta stay away from
Who's
the
your favorite
Snickers.
brand?
I say Cheetos.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right, okay.
Cheetos. That
The hot
red
flaming
dye.
hot ones.
That
Oh.
red dye. You already knew it was flaming hot, huh?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we gonna
it's
keep
the
you away
red
from
dye.
that
I
dye.
gotta stay away from it. It makes you so angry. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I gotta stay away from it.
Yeah.
All dyes.
Yeah, interesting.
So I wanted to ask you your perspective on, based on what you've gone through, and you certainly have such a compelling story that needs to be told, and I understand why you're so passionate about telling it. How do you feel about mental health, specifically in the African American community, and the stigma or thoughts around therapy and dealing with your mental health? How do you think that impacts our community?
I think that when we don't understand that we dealing with mental health is bad. Cause I didn't think that I was dealing with mental health. I just thought my son died. Yeah. But I didn't understand that why I'm going through what I'm going through right now, which I just got put in a psych ward recently. Because my mind, I think I was missing serotonin, they said. And it's another word when you hug. What is it called? Serotonin, and I can't remember, but
Oxytocin.
not that one. It's close to it.
It's gonna come to me.
It's gonna come to me. As soon as it comes to me, I'll find it.
Dopamine.
Dopamine.
Okay.
Yeah, I was missing dopamine. And I didn't realize that I was supposed to be getting that for myself. Ooh, right?
Yeah.
I was supposed to be working out. I was supposed to be just doing all of the things that made me happy.
Right.
So once I went to open mic, which is I just woke up and was like, one day I'm gonna go to an open mic because maybe I'm feeling like I need this dopamine because people not hearing me, right? I'm still on this hearing me, but what do they need to hear, right? And I made 3 songs in 2 days. And I went to the open mic. I recorded them. I went to the open mic, and everybody was like singing, standing up. They were like, where you been at? We been needed your music. That was my dopamine right there.
Wow.
That was my serotonin. And I went home and I told my husband, don't ever put me back in the psych ward. It's not that I needed to, something is wrong with me. It's that I need to find out that I can't get my dopamine from you. I can't get serotonin from you. I need to get this for myself. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so it's funny you said that because, I think that what you've gone through have given you insight into not only just the physical aspects of what depression and certain mental health symptoms look like, but also the biological components.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's certain things that we are missing that we need. And I think that when we don't have our full story with the history of our people in trauma and the things that have been taken from us, we go through life absent of it.
Yeah.
Right? And though you have regrets about being in that psych ward, I think the takeaway was I needed it at the same time because it gave me insight as to what's missing,
Yes.
what I need to do for myself, what no one else can do for me, but what I can do for myself in order to keep myself
Out of it.
Yeah.
I regret the day that my mom and so what happened, I didn't tell y'all this story, but what happened was I heard a voice that told me to get him, to kill them, kill them, kill them, right? And it was my husband and my 2 kids in the house. So I'm like, huh? Can't be telling me to kill them. So since I hear this, I'm gonna go for a walk, right? And it was 3:00, 3:50 in the morning, and I went walking for 12 hours. Well, after the walk, I realized that God was telling me to ask somebody for a phone, but everybody was like this. So I'm standing there with a bathrobe on. I didn't even realize it until I looked down at my own self, with a bra and drawers on the bathrobe, no shoes, no hat, no nothing. I was outside walking for 12 hours. Not one woman said anything to me, right? And even the women, I would say, "Can I see your phone?" I didn't have a voice either. He took my voice too, or I couldn't speak. And even the women, I was like, "Can I see your phone?" They was like, get away from me. Leave me alone. You know, so I realized, like, we are in a dangerous world. Anytime people think that a girl with no shoes on and with a wedding ring, I don't even wear my wedding ring anymore because it didn't do anything for me. Like, it did. I was offering my ring for a phone, and they were still telling me no. So I don't know. I just felt lost out there in this world, and I just feel like it's so many people that need to hear my music now.
Yeah, yeah. How long ago was it that incident
That happened September 2014.
2014. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What was it that you learned about yourself, and after you became aware of the walk and the experience there?
That something was wrong. Like,
Okay.
I was like, why would I hear that? Yeah. So I didn't believe in. I would say I didn't. I wouldn't say I didn't believe in God. I would say I was following God because my mom taught me God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So it wasn't until I walked out of the house that I actually heard a voice. I've never heard God's voice. I never heard the devil voice or enemy voice. So I was confused about that voice.
Yeah.
Right. So my thing was, why is this happening to me, and what did I hear? Okay, well, I gotta go to a mental health hospital or somewhere because something is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's a really powerful experience there, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Do you with how do you sleep, and what was your sleeping cycle like around that time versus now?
I don't really sleep good
Okay.
because ever since my son died, that I told you he was my sleep, he was my rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So
would sleep in the
we
bed
slept
together.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So death took that from me. Yeah. So when I went to the psych ward, that's what they were saying. They was like, she only slept 2 hours. She only,
Yeah.
and that's in a week. You know, like I'm sleeping 30 minutes and stuff like that. They like, you need sleep.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't realize that I was only sleeping. And social media don't do any better. So when you're in a psych ward, they take your phone away from you.
Yeah.
So I think that when I was walking, God was telling me, you know, you're about to be away from that phone.
Yeah.
Because even the people that was supposed to help you was
Yeah.
looking
Not
down
giving
at
you
their
your
phone.
phone.
Yeah. So when I went in there for 7 days without a phone,
Yeah.
I felt so refreshed. I was in there coloring. I was like, let me see your picture.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. You know,
Yeah.
I started helping people because I knew I realized that I wasn't supposed to be there. I'm in there like, we about to do a workout class because they telling us we can't go outside today. I realized that I wasn't supposed to be there. Every
Yeah.
day I woke up, I realized that, hey, I just needed to be away from my phone.
Yeah.
So when I came home, I told my husband, if I ever need to be away from home, just take me to a hotel, please, and take my phone because
Yeah.
I don't want to go to the psych ward. I
Gotcha.
just I want silence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it sounds also like no matter where you are and where you end up, there's something within you, right? And it's that metal,
That's
right?
right.
There's something
Yeah.
within you that's going to allow you to shine. And they say cream rises to the top, right?
Oh, that's cute.
You always somehow find it within you, the resilience and the strength and just who you are, your makeup, to demonstrate who you are in a way that not only helps you, but help others around you.
Yeah, definitely.
So where do you think that comes from?
Gotta come from my mother. Gotta come from my grandmother. Gotta come from just seeing people struggle and my mom and my grandmother not folding, realizing that they had to keep going. My grandmother have 29 grandchildren, 32 great grand. It's something like that. I think 32 great grandchildren, 29 great grand, and only 3 of us have been deceased. You know, so it's kind of like our family is strong, and I'm looking at this strong family like I gotta keep going for not just myself and my kids, but for all of the cousins that's after me. So it have to come from the women in my family. They strong as a mug, man. Shout out to the Whitakers.
I love
Yeah,
it.
we have a powerful name, and it's like, you know, them Whitaker
Oh,
women.
that's what's up.
Yeah, they
Okay.
say them Whitaker women. I'm like, what is the? So when I got married, I didn't even want to drop Whitaker off.
Yeah.
I'm like, Whitaker Hooper, slash it, slash
There you
it, put a
go.
slash on it.
Yeah.
They like, you sure you don't want to drop it? Nah, it's something creative about our name. It's something, I would say it's creation from God, because we beautiful.
I love it. I love it.
Absolutely.
Born and raised DC, you guys are the Whitaker women are holding it down.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, like, with what you see in society now and in our communities, you see a lot of people who are hurting out here, right?
Yeah, I do.
And you see a lot of young people who've lost hope, and they basically kind of crashing out, like they don't seem to have a purpose to their life, and they seem to be kind of flowing aimlessly. Like, what's your impression of that, and what do you think is missing for a lot of the younger generation?
I think we missing our moms at home, to be honest. I remember being a child and my mom had 3 jobs and she had 6 kids. So I don't think that school is the best place for our kids. I feel like, I'm just thinking this. Back in the day, we used to raise our own kids. We used to teach our own kids. I feel like that system need to come back.
Yeah.
I believe that it was a system like that before a school system started.
Yeah.
They talk about the Rockefeller plan. They say, we don't need workers. We don't need thinkers. We need workers. And I didn't want my kids to become workers. I wanted them to become thinkers.
Gotcha.
So I think it's about just changing the narrative about, what you learn. And I didn't learn nothing in high school.
Yeah.
We miss our moms. We miss our dads in the house, in one household, growing up and just seeing that, I guess, the white picket fence, everybody sitting at the table eating breakfast and lunch and dinner together. We don't see that much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like we need that back in our community. And that will help and heal a lot of kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and my husband been together for 11 years.
Wow.
I
And
have
y'all
a
are
modeling.
young.
Yeah, we young.
Yeah.
I have a modeling agency, and I remember a girl mocking my daughter, saying, not to bring this up, I hope this don't make me lose one of my kids, but she mocked my daughter and said, well, she got her mother and her father in the household. We need that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't say nothing back because I already knew what she was dealing with, you know?
So do you feel like in our community it's almost taboo to have both parents in the household?
From what I see, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see it much, and I haven't seen it much since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I think that's why I stood on it. I'm not having kids unless you married to me. Bruh.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like, that's how I used to be. Like, I'm not having kids unless we live in the same house. Bruh.
Yeah.
Like, I had to start talking to my husband like a friend.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
That's what's
you
up.
know,
Yeah.
and he had to understand that, like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And he had to understand that I saw 5 women before me in my family.
Yeah.
So they created that for me.
That's
That's
what's
who I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because they already did it for me.
Yeah.
My husband had to understand. Let me take you around now real quick so you can understand why I'm saying what I'm saying. I think I'm that child that's supposed to break this.
Yeah.
So you either going to do it with me or you not. So, yeah, it's...
And knowing that you're saying that is not only for you, but it seems like for the legacy that you're trying to build and to take away the stigma and the stereotype that a lot of our children face when they have to go out in the communities where, it's just a single mom or a one-parent household. I think you knew that the power came from having both people to raise those children.
And I hope that I can do this for my kids. I'm just praying that my kids be as strong as me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because it just going to be like, what did I do? Was I just so stern? But I'm trying to be, I don't know, it's no manual to being a mom.
Absolutely.
Or a parent. But I'm just praying that God say, well, I sent you these perfect kids so they could break this generational curse too.
Yeah.
You know.
What is and so that's a deep point there. What does breaking the generational curse look like for you? Like if you were to say, I want to say the top thing or two things that would be an example of it, where you look at your children as adults and you'd say, I'm proud of what. Yeah.
Right now, because I'm sitting in it and I'm standing in it, I have 29 grandchildren under me, and everybody say, Nita, I want to be just like you.
That's what's up.
That's what it looked like for me. That's
Yeah.
what makes me smile. That's what makes me feel like I'm that big cousin that everybody want to look at.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I am the generational curse breaker already in the family for my cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah, for all of the girls that's under me, they don't have kids right now. So it's just like, good job, Denita. You know, like I got 17 girls under me.
Wow.
Not just my family. I mean, not just my friends. I'm talking about these are my blood cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah, they looking at me.
Yeah.
And that's important that you said that, because frequently we think that what we say to the people that watch us is what matters, but it's actually what we do.
Yeah, it's
That's right.
action.
It's actions, right?
Yeah.
So what advice would you give with all that you've gone through? What advice would you give to other mothers, other fathers, other people who've experienced the loss of a child?
Yeah.
What advice would you offer them?
If somebody's going through it right this very moment.
I'll say I can't give you advice because I'm still going through it, but I always say just follow me. I always say I feel like, I know this might sound, I feel like I'm walking Jesus sometimes. I be like, just follow me. Just don't stay in it. Get out of it. You know, go through it. Still grieve. Still go through your pain, your healing. You're going to lose a lot of people. You're going to lose a lot of people, but you're going to gain a lot too.
Yeah.
I definitely learned the flesh life and the spiritual life. So be okay with that there's two sides of every story. And lead by example. Realize that God need more helpers than followers.
Yeah.
So once you sit yourself in a room and you realize somebody going through something the same as you, it's okay to sit there, but don't stay there.
Yeah.
Don't stay there. Be the one that say, I'm going to be that one that make a difference. My pastor used to always say, all God need is one.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
You know, it's one, I'm really grateful for the answer that you gave.
Thank you.
It's especially in 2024, 2025, there's been this a lot of information out, a lot of podcasts, a lot of people talking about legacy in our community, and the thought is to break the generational trauma, the curse for Black folks. That the answer is wealth. I want my children to be, to have, make a lot of money and live where they want to live, and buy their children all of the creature comforts that they desire.
Yeah.
And I believe what they're missing is, because I think we've all seen it, that there are some people whose parents were very, very successful, but the next generation ends up crashing out in spite of living in multi-million-dollar houses.
Yeah.
And the one missing ingredient is teaching their children, or us teaching our children, not to chase things that lead to addiction, right? So addicted to status, addicted to, substance,
That's
to
hard in
foods
this
and
world,
things
girl.
like that. Right. And somehow or another, that's a part that's kind of missed. And so the answer that you gave had more to do with, be setting an example, based off of the diet, based off of the marital and family goals that you have. So that's really impressive there.
I wish I could be rich still in the midst of doing this, but sometimes you got to lose it all. You got to lose it all to realize it's a different order.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes people think that money can make your kids happy, but not even money will do that.
That's right.
Yeah. So if it don't start with love, then it ain't in it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And so to your point, Clay, I just watched a clip where Tyler Perry said that he doesn't allow his son to fly on his private jet. His son flies coach on commercial airlines, and it's because he wants him to understand that with all that I've done and all that I've acquired, it means nothing to me if I can't help people to understand who they are and understand what their purpose is and their power is in this world. It'll just be me handing you something that you don't know the value of it because you haven't had to really struggle to get to the understanding that I have. And so when he said that, it was just so powerful to me because a lot of the times we do think that money will solve all woes. But I think that the essence and the spirit of who we want our kids to be and understand that in this world, it's not money that's going to come in and save you, but it's going to be other people. It's going to be other people that look like you. Or maybe some who don't look like you. But it's
that's
going
just
to be
so small. He said the plane. Just the plane.
He said that
they got so much.
He said that,
Exactly,
because it was an incident where the son turned his nose up at having to fly commercial at one point with his mom. And when the wife came home and told him the story, he said, well, moving forward, he will only fly commercial.
Oh, wow.
Right? And so we have to be careful that sometimes we have things and we've acquired them because we've struggled.
Yeah, that's true.
Struggle builds character is what my mom would say. And sometimes we don't allow them to build that character because we feel the need to just give them everything. But when it's given to them and it's not earned, what is the value of it truly to them? Right? And so that's the message I took from.
How old is his son?
His son is probably about 10 now. 8.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't even know. I thought he was like 4 since the last.
Yeah, his son is probably around that age.
Okay,
I'm not, don't quote me, but his son is
He's
old
older.
enough
He's
to
older.
say that, turn his nose up at people that's flying commercial and doesn't want to fly commercial. So his son is old enough to have an understanding of status, social status.
Okay.
Is what I took from that. And his father doesn't want him to get too wrapped up in
Educated.
that because that's my life. That's what I've worked hard for and had sacrifices with being homeless. And I don't want to deviate from the topic, but that stood out to me because I think that in our community, we need to get back to having people find their purpose and that their purpose is healing other people. Their purpose is being able to come into a room with people who may be hurting and may be suffering and just say or do something that makes it better for the people that you're around. And so,
we as human beings, I mean, we're social beings, and so being a part of a community, a tribe, a family, a social organization, a church, it is like one of the highest levels or metrics of wellness. If you look at someone who is, and even if let's say somebody who's, makes a modest income, but they're a member of a church, they got a strong, healthy family, they're close with their spouse and their children, they, and when they have their free time, they're looking to kind of be amongst those people that they care about. They would measure as people who have some of the highest quality of life than someone who is, highly successful, but they're lonely, and there are a lot of movies that they even show that. I think there was a movie called Family Man, and it was, about an exec who was, it showed him two different lives. One, he was, successful in his own career, like Wall Street or something.
Oh, you talking about the man that went outside and act homeless for a day?
No, it was a movie with Nicolas Cage in it. I can't remember.
You're talking about Trading Places?
Yeah, Trading Places. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay.
But that's also a good example there too.
That is.
So so a lot of the answers that you've given and you shared, you've spoken a lot about family and community. You mind sharing some of the other things that you do? Because I know that I am aware of the fact that you do some modeling and you do some teaching. And so talk to us a little bit about what you do there.
I just started a modeling agency that reflects off of my health and wellness business. So we sell sea moss. like I said, our body is our temple and our
Yeah.
temple is our power. So I'm just trying to get my skin popping since I didn't
Okay.
shave my head bald. And then I started a modeling agency with the same name, Temple of Power Models. I want my kids to know the same thing. So we just had a fashion show December 29th. And
All
when I say
right.
them kids showed off,
Yeah.
I mean, it was amazing. But one of the things I missed in my family was affirmation. I ain't tell y'all that.
Wow.
We forgot to like affirmate ourselves. I am strong. I'm powerful. I can do
Yeah.
all things through Christ that strengthens me. So that's one of the things that I teach. And I think that's what the parents fell in love with. So a lot of the parents, or I would say coaches, would say, "Why are you letting the parents sit in?" I'm like, because they need to know that they could trust me with their
Yeah.
kid. But I didn't realize that I started teaching the parents when I was letting them sit in my class.
Yeah.
So, say if their kids didn't do something right or their kids didn't answer the right way, they would come to me after class like, you taught me something. Or my kids reacted different, say if I came back to the next practice the next day.
Yeah.
So I love the modeling agency. It's amazing. They actually made me make new music because I'm realizing the cut beat is not really, it's for the urban modeling agency, but it's not really for our kids. So I'm not about to get into that, what it means. But I had to come out with new songs for these kids, and that they brought me back to music. It seemed like these kids, that's what it's gonna bring out of me. My
Yeah.
kids, my modeling kids, made me release 3 songs for Temple of Power. My son, I didn't release about 4 songs, so that led back to music. But
Yeah.
they are amazing kids. Amazing
Wow.
kids. I have 29 kids under me.
That's
And I do
beautiful.
have a audition January 12th, this Sunday at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, that's powerful. Definitely send us the information so that we can share it with our social media following. Um, it's so modeling. Talk to us a little bit about where you are with your music and some
My
of the goals
music.
and that you have for 2025 with that.
My plan is to release my album in March. I
Okay.
have 8 songs out in this universe.
Yeah.
Now, somebody got to listen to this song and hear it.
Yeah.
But this song that's called I'ma Live, that's the hit right there, I'm telling you.
I'm gonna live.
Yeah. But my music is very holistic. I would say that I'm a Christian, new black Nubian queen
I
that's
love
trying to
it.
get
Yeah.
that's trying to open up the ears of
Yeah.
every queen that need to know how strong and powerful they are. I'm talking about the kings on it too, but
Yeah.
I'm that woman rapper.
Yeah.
I'm a girl's girl.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I can't wait to hear it and listen
Okay.
to it.
Yeah.
It's I want to just share with you that so when I was from the age of 18 to 21 years old for myself, I lost a lot of really close, important men in my life. My father, my grandfather, and 2 of my best friends. And as a young black male at the time, I didn't understand the process of grief. But my behavior was reckless. Like I had become
Really?
a very reckless person. And, I really struggled with making good decisions and morality. And, I was making a lot of poor choices. I was, abusing substance at that time in my life.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I was grieving. And somehow or another, an idea came for me that I wanted to do music. And so I just remember like getting like instrumentals and writing. The very first song I wrote was a song called Death or Insanity. Death or Insanity, the choice is yours.
You still know it?
I can probably fragment it.
Go
a
ahead,
few
spit
parts.
it. Spit it.
It's I can't remember it that well.
You know how like you just always know your favorite rap line?
Yeah. For a couple of years I was an artist. I was doing my thing for a
Yeah.
minute, at least in my own self. But I brought it up because it allowed me to write down on a piece of paper and express things that was inside of my body, that had I not been able to write it and express it,
Yeah.
I would have acted it out.
Yeah.
And it would have led to my self-destruction. I mean,
Yeah.
the first song, Death or Insanity, really showed you where I was in my life. And it's from that became like my journey into becoming a creator and like evolving into starting businesses and understanding the power of word You know, so like around the time in which I was 18, I said, I'm going to have $1 million by the time I was 30. Yeah, I was able to actualize that. And it just, I would just say that like, you know, because I didn't make it in music, but what I was able to make was
Manifestation.
yeah, I was able to understand it and the power of word and creativity, right? Because that, you know, that right hemisphere of the brain is, you know, is the space that we are able to create and see things from a bigger perspective.
Yeah.
The left hemisphere of our brain is more conducive towards, you know, logic and chronicle thinking. But when you're dealing with something that's traumatic, that there is no specific answer, what you'll find is, you know, a person will ruminate over things they have no control over.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
me.
from our perspective, we see a lot of clients who are stuck just continuing to ask themselves why, or you know, that, or they keep regurgitating the same stories that are rooted in shame, which hinder them from being able to grow and heal.
So you think that stand on your story sometimes can hold you back? Like if you keep talking about it?
That's a deep question. I'll let Denise take a stab at that.
I don't think it's so much standing on your story. I think that when we all go through trials and tribulations and we go through things that are hurtful to us and people around us, I think somewhere within there's an intent for a lesson to come from that.
Okay.
And I think that instead of focusing on the actual parts of what's hurtful to you and others, focusing on what you can do to heal others from that space is important. For instance, the person that constantly thinks, well, my father was a drug addict, my mother was this, I didn't have that, I didn't have this, and that's all they could think about in their current state, even though that happened 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You have today. What can you do with today that will move you away from that and what you can control?
Okay.
Because you didn't control that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But I think that most of our grief and pain comes from things that we can't control. And if we start to think about the things that we are in control of, that'll move us closer towards our purpose and healing.
Yeah.
I wish you guys can meet my husband. I swear, he moved forward. But he's like, I don't know, he my feet. Like he keep us going forward. But I'm like that person that like lead us to go forward.
Like it's
like
almost
we
like
one
you stand,
body.
Yeah, like you standing, like you on his shoulders and he's walking and you doing.
Like, but if it was up to his feet, would they turn backwards? Heck no. But if it was up to me, I'm like, let's go get the rest of the Whitakers. Like, you know, and it's kind of like you gotta keep going. You know,
that's right.
yeah. So I definitely would need his shoulders to keep going. So I would say we on top of each other. Definitely.
I love it. So and to kind of contribute to Denise's answer, if you you mentioned earlier about the difference between, you know, creating children who are thinkers more so than workers, right?
Right.
And to put that into context of like the way in which the hemispheres of our brain works. Worker is more left hemisphere of the brain.
Okay.
It's more divergent thinking. Right hemisphere of the brain is more convergent thinking. And so if it ends up being that, like me talking about my own personal story of like when I was going through my grief, when I was kind of regurgitating and living inside of that, my story, I was more kind of focusing in on I was leaning more on the left hemisphere of my brain. Okay. And then when I was able to start to write and just utilize the creative side of me, then that was more freeing, right?
The helper.
It was more of the helper. And I guess another piece I'll say is this, like, one of the things we talk about in class here at Metalworks is there are things that we know. There are things that we know that we don't know. Okay. And there are things that we don't know that we don't know. So think about it like this. You know how to tie your shoe, right?
Right.
Okay. Do you know how to fly a helicopter?
No.
Okay, so you don't know how to fly a helicopter.
I don't know it yet.
Yeah, right. And then there are things that we don't know that we don't know, right? Like we don't know what is the thing that if we learn this, that we could have immortality, or we could just have peace for the rest of our days, or prosperity, or abundance, or solve all of our problems.
Yeah.
It sits somewhere outside of our realm of knowing that, or of us not even knowing that it exists. Okay. And so, oftentimes, the pathway, like we see people who struggle the most with trying to overcome trauma when they're kind of stuck in that space of things that they know and things that they know that they don't know. And our job is to try to help them to gain an awareness beyond the things that in which they are. So that's that part of, like, if someone's stuck in their story, like our job is to try to help them to see it from a different perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's the essence of dialectic behavior.
Okay.
Therapy technique is to, two things can exist in the same space.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? But it's how you choose to kind of look at it and how you choose to move forward with the perspective that you want to have about it.
Yeah, I think that's what I did with my life. My perspective was I got to be better. Yeah, and I'm not saying that I'm better than, but I just got to be better because I know that my mom didn't struggle and work all these jobs for no reason. Yeah. So out of 6, I got to be better. Like, I wasn't in competition. They couldn't compete, but they didn't compare because I got my own story, right? God knew who we was before we came out. So it just was like, I got to be better. I can't let this drown me. I can't suffer any longer. I suffered enough. Yeah.
Denise and Mr. Clay,
Yeah.
can y'all drop a gem on the 8 aspects of wellness, and then y'all can wrap it up after that.
Okay.
We had our time.
Okay. All right. So, are you familiar with the 8 dimensions of wellness?
No, I don't know it.
All right. So, okay, you think of being well, right? Living and having, when we think of well-being, we think of health.
Okay.
One of the things that we practice around here is health doesn't have to be either. It's not like black and white. It doesn't have to be either you're all healthy or you're unhealthy.
Okay.
That there are different dimensions or different angles of health. And so the dimensions of the 8 dimensions of wellness that we practice is mental wellness, physical wellness, spiritual wellness, emotional wellness, financial wellness, environmental wellness, social wellness, and occupational wellness.
I love it.
Okay. And so what you find, especially as you start to look at in our community, and we see where there are opportunities for improvement. So a generation ago compared to this generation, I don't have the statistics in front of me, but I would suppose that there's a larger number of educated people in the black community, right?
Somewhere.
As far as degrees, as far as reading and comprehension. If you went back 2 generations ago, the number of people who were illiterate, that number has greatly improved, right? So there's been an improvement in our community as far as, like, say, mental wellness.
Okay.
But then there might be some reverses to that if you think of, like, social wellness, because 2 generations ago, the majority of families in African American community were married. Large percentage of them. Our generation now, that number of individuals who have been married at some point in their life has greatly diminished. Okay, so looking at the different dimensions of wellness is an opportunity for us to set goals for improving areas of our life.
Okay.
So sometimes you might see someone in the Prince George's County area, and they're they're educated, they make good money, they have a really nice house, they've got a strong family, but physically, they have a lot of ailments.
Yeah.
Right. Or then you might see someone, and that the fact that they have that physical ailment pulls down all of the quality of life for them. Right. Right. And then you might see someone who, has, is in really good shape, has, good family around them, good home environment, but they can't keep a job.
Yeah.
And so the goal and the opportunity is for us to look at areas in our life to figure out which area of wellness do I need to do the most work on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so that being said, like when you think of those dimensions of wellness, which one would you say you feel like that you're strongest in,
Okay.
and which one is still kind of a work in progress for you?
Mine was creativity, but I know that wasn't one of your wellness, right?
Yeah.
Can you list them again?
Okay. Mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, financial, environmental,
Occupation.
social,
Yeah.
And occupational.
Mine was mental, spiritual,
Okay.
and you said mental health, right?
Yeah.
That's the same thing. So mental health and then spiritual.
Okay. Those are the two that you feel.
I needed to focus on both of those the most.
Okay.
Yeah.
And currently today, is it still the same, or would you?
That was currently
Okay.
today.
Okay.
Now I always financial. I'm gonna do my checks. Go ahead,
Okay.
do it again.
Okay. Mental.
I needed that.
Okay.
Okay.
And I want to kind of differentiate because there's a mental mental wellness. It also kind of falls in a category of intellectual wellness.
Okay.
So it also has to do with like education. Now the one that you might be talking about might be emotional wellness.
Emotional. I was
Wellness.
looking for something else. I knew I had 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So emotional wellness has to do with emotionally being well.
Yeah.
Physical wellness has to do with your physical health.
Right.
Environmental wellness has to do with whether or not
Where
you
you
feel
at.
a sense of peace in the environments in which you dwell.
Right.
There's some people.
I would say that was a part of mine too. I'm a hairstylist.
Okay.
I ain't speak about that, but yeah, I'm a hairstylist. So I hear so many stories, other people's stories, that I had to start realizing that it was reflecting on me. And sometimes what goes in your ear can be more poison than what comes out of your mouth. So yeah, I had to stop that.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add that with the wellnesses and the 8 dimensions of wellness, that human beings, we're multidimensional people. It's not only one aspect of us that needs to be fulfilled. And Alfred Adler said that when he called it the task of life, where it was similar to the dimensions of wellness. But we're multidimensional, and so in order for us to feel a sense of satisfaction, we need a balance in those areas.
Yeah.
Having too much in one and too little in another still can create disruption within your spirit and your soul.
That's
and
what
so
happened.
finding a way to achieve balance throughout those 8 dimensions of wellness is one of the best things that you can do for yourself and others around you.
I needed y'all plan a long time ago.
We're always here. So
Yeah.
yeah. So Ms. Denita, it was such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And we I feel inspired.
Yeah.
I feel encouraged.
Thank you. Me
And
too.
I feel optimistic about the future of the Whitakers
Yes.
and the rest. And your husband's last name, what's your?
It's Hooper. So my
Hooper,
last
okay.
name is
I knew it
Whitaker
was the
Hooper.
H. Okay, all right, and the Hoopers. So all the best. Thank you for coming in.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys.
It was a pleasure talking to you today.
You too.
Definitely.
All right.
All right.
Oh, it's so good.
What was it?